Baby. Listen. 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 If y'all thought this Blueface household situation had already hit its rock bottom, honey, put your seatbelt on, because Karlissa Saffold just walked into a buzzsaw she absolutely did not see coming, and NBA YoungBoy did not just clap back, no, he dragged this woman's entire bloodline into the group chat, exposed a face tattoo secret nobody was supposed to say out loud, and then casually reactivated an Instagram he barely uses just to torch the whole timeline before breakfast. And y'all, the internet has not been the same since. So grab your tea, get comfortable, because what Kentrell just did to Karlissa is going to be studied in Gossip College for years. Now let me set this up properly, because context is everything. For weeks, Blueface and his mama Karlissa have been feuding on live streams, on Twitch, on Instagram, on every platform that will still let them log in. And in the middle of one of these very public, very loud, very unnecessary meltdowns, Karlissa did the one thing you never do in the culture. She reached outside her own drama and dragged an entirely uninvolved man into it. And not just any man. She dragged NBA YoungBoy. Kentrell. The one man you do not, under any circumstance, name-drop in a diss unless you are fully prepared to have your entire life audited on Instagram live within the hour. Here is what actually happened, because the clips are already spreading like wildfire. Karlissa was on stream going back and forth with Blueface, and somewhere in the argument, she decided to compare her own son to Kentrell. She looked into the camera and basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is the gist, that Blueface isn't dumb like NBA YoungBoy. Yes. Dumb like Kentrell. Yes. She said the words. On camera. To a live audience. About a man who has millions of fans who defend him like he is their blood cousin. And the moment that clip started circulating, everybody watching knew, immediately, that Karlissa had just cashed a check her mouth could not afford. She tried to walk it back. She really did. Halfway through the same stream, you can see the exact moment it registers on her face that she might have crossed a line she cannot uncross. She starts stammering, she starts saying she loves NBA YoungBoy dearly, she loves his mama. She didn't mean it like that, no offense, no offense. But baby, the clip was already screenshotted, ripped, reposted, and stitched by 10,000 accounts. The internet does not do no offense. The internet does receipts. And Karlissa had just handed the internet a full ledger. Now here is where it gets absolutely wild, and this is the part that has the timeline on fire right now. Kentrell, who has been in his Norway era, keeping to himself, raising his kids, dropping music quietly, minding what is unquestionably his own business, saw the clip. He saw it. And this man doesn't do the industry response thing. He doesn't send his publicist a statement. He doesn't book a breakfast club sit down. NBA YoungBoy logs on personally, from his own account, and starts talking. And when he starts talking, careers wobble. The first thing he did was tell them both, Karlissa and Blueface, to stop mentioning his name. Simple. Direct. A warning shot. He said something to the effect of, quote, y'all keep saying his name and now he going to say something more crazy about you, unquote. That was the polite version. That was the version he gave the world before he really started cooking. Because 2 sentences later, Kentrell went nuclear. He brought up Nevaeh. He brought up the face tattoo. He said, and I need y'all to sit with this, go ask Nevaeh what that ink under her eye used to say before it became a feather. Go ask her. Because according to Kentrell, that pretty little feather tattoo sitting under Blueface's baby mother's eye is a cover-up. And what it used to say, according to the man himself, was Kentrell. His name. His government name. Etched into her face. Before somebody, allegedly, went and had it re-inked into something Blueface could look at without losing his mind. Y'all. Do you understand what NBA YoungBoy just did? He didn't just clap back at Karlissa. He didn't just check Blueface. He pulled a piece of receipts out of a drawer nobody even knew existed, dropped it on the internet in the middle of the afternoon, and walked away. That is not a diss. That is not a subtweet. That is a full-blown expose delivered with the calm confidence of a man who knows what he saw with his own 2 eyes. And Blueface's whole household went silent. Silent. If you go back and watch the reaction footage from Karlissa and Nevaeh reading Kentrell's messages, the energy in that room shifts in real time. Karlissa, who is normally the loudest person in any room she has ever entered, goes quiet. She starts fidgeting. She starts stammering. She keeps trying to say she didn't mean NBA YoungBoy, she meant NLE Choppa. She said, quote, "I didn't mean to say NBA YoungBoy, I meant NLE Choppa," unquote. And baby, that excuse is somehow even worse than the original insult, because now she's just calling somebody else's son dumb to try to save herself from calling Kentrell dumb. Nevaeh had to sit her down. Nevaeh, calmly, patiently, told her mother-in-law, "Look, you said what you said, and it got caught." That's what Nevaeh said. And Karlissa is trying to spin it in real time, trying to backpedal, trying to say she never mentioned that tattoo, she never brought up Kentrell, she doesn't know anything about anything under anybody's face. And Nevaeh, and this is the part that really tells you the household is in shambles, Nevaeh looks at her and says, "You literally brought this up before, you said it when we got into it in that room, you said it," and Karlissa is going, "No I didn't, no I didn't, no I didn't," like a child caught with the cookie jar. And in the background of all this, if you were listening carefully, Blueface can be heard muttering that his son told the world. His son told the world. Meaning the man understood, in that exact second, that the tattoo story had been sitting in his own family group chat for who knows how long, and now the whole planet knew, because his mama could not keep NBA YoungBoy's name out of her mouth for one single livestream. This is the part of the story where a normal celebrity feud slows down, because normally, by now, somebody's manager calls somebody's manager, and the artists retreat, and the clips get scrubbed, and everybody pretends it never happened. But NBA YoungBoy is not a normal celebrity. He is Kentrell. And Kentrell was not done. Because a few hours later, he pops up again, this time on Live with Offset. Offset. The Migos Offset. Cardi B's ex. And what happens on that livestream is genuinely one of the most human, unexpected moments we have seen from Kentrell in years. Offset gets on the call and he does not co-sign the crash out. Instead, Offset, who has been through his own public wars, pulls up gently and says, "Look, brother, don't let them get out of your body. Don't let them pull you into it. You've been doing great. You've been living right. Don't let strangers on the internet reach into your peace and yank you back into old patterns." And you can hear NBA YoungBoy sit with that. You can hear him take a breath. And then he says something that changed the whole shape of this story. He said, and I'm paraphrasing him closely here because his exact words matter, he said, "I flashed out. I was doing great and I let some people get in my body and it got me back on tripping. I got to let it go." And then, unprompted, on his own live, in front of everybody watching, Kentrell apologized. He apologized to Karlissa. He apologized to Blueface. He said, "I apologize to you and I apologize to them too. You right. God is good. We living." He said it was his birthday energy talking, he said he thanked Offset for the check-in, he said he loved him, he said happy birthday coach, and then he logged off looking like a man who genuinely wanted his peace back. Now that is a plot twist. Because think about it. Within a 24-hour window, Kentrell went from ignoring Karlissa completely, to being called dumb by her, to going scorched earth on Karlissa and Nevaeh, to publicly leaking a face tattoo secret that has been chewing at Blueface's family, to being talked down by Offset, to publicly apologizing on his own accord. That is not a rap beef. That is a full arc. That is character development in real time. But let's be very clear about one thing, because the timeline is already trying to spin this. Kentrell did not apologize because he was wrong. He apologized because he chose peace over war. And there is a very, very significant difference. He still said what he said. The Nevaeh tattoo receipt is still out there. Karlissa still called him dumb on camera. The apology from Kentrell does not undo any of that. It only ends his participation in the mess. The mess itself is very much still messy. And this is where the internet has split down the middle, because here is the question everybody is arguing about right now. Was Kentrell justified? Every corner of X, every gossip page, every reaction channel is having the same debate. On one side, you have people saying, of course Kentrell was justified. This grown woman walked into an argument with her own son and decided to detour through his front yard just to throw a rock at him. If you drag a man into a fight he was not in, you cannot cry when he swings back. Karlissa knew exactly what she was doing when she brought up NBA YoungBoy. She was reaching for a comparison that would sting Blueface, and Kentrell was collateral damage on purpose. So when he responded with the tattoo receipt, that was not cruelty. That was self-defense. On the other side, you have people saying Kentrell went too far. Bringing up Nevaeh, exposing the tattoo, dragging a woman who was not even the one who insulted him, that felt personal in a way that Karlissa's original comments simply wasn't. Karlissa called him dumb, which is a childish insult. He responded by exposing intimate history about a woman who did not open her mouth about him. And to some viewers, that math does not math. The punishment did not fit the crime. Both sides have a point. And this is exactly the kind of moment where the culture reveals itself. Because everybody watching is quietly deciding whose team they are on, whether they say it out loud or not. But here is the deeper thing that nobody is talking about yet, and this is the part one want y'all to really sit with. Karlissa Saffold has spent years as a livestream character. She has built an audience off of being loud, off of dragging her own son, off of being a permanent fixture in every Blueface headline. She has monetized her chaos. She has turned family dysfunction into a content engine. And for a long time, that worked, because the people she was fighting were people who could not or would not hit back at full strength. NBA YoungBoy is not that. He is a completely different weight class. He has a fan base that will run through a wall for him. Kentrell has receipts on people that even his enemies didn't know existed. He is not going to sit in a green room and wait for a mediator to broker a peace deal. And Karlissa learned that the hard way, live, in front of everybody, with a phone in her hand and no exit strategy. And this is why the tattoo revelation hits so much harder than a normal diss. Because it isn't just a shot at Nevaeh. It's a shot at the myth Blueface has been trying to build around his current family unit. Blueface has been walking around presenting Nevaeh as the ride or die, the pregnant girlfriend, the piece after all the Krisian chaos. And Kentrell just casually reached into that story and reminded the world that Nevaeh, at some point, cared enough about a completely different man to put his name on her face. Kentrell. And that is the kind of receipt you cannot cover up with a feather. Now let's talk about Karlissa's damage control tour, because it has been something to witness. After the initial crash out, Karlissa hopped on every platform she could find to try to smooth this over. She was on Instagram apologizing. She was on Twitch clarifying. She was mumbling about how she loves Kentrell, she loves his mother, she has always, and that silence, in this context, is actually the most damning part of the whole story. Because Blueface's silence tells you everything you need to know. He is not defending his mother. He is not defending Nevaeh. He is not calling anybody out. He is watching his household get emotionally strip-searched on a public stage, and he has nothing to say about it. That is not the behavior of a man who feels his family was wronged. That is the behavior of a man who knows, in his heart of hearts, that Kentrell was telling the truth about that tattoo. And that, right there, is the moment the entire narrative flipped. Because up until Kentrell dropped that receipt, this was just another Karlissa versus Blueface fight. It was noise. It was clicks. Nobody was learning anything they didn't already know. But once Kentrell said what he said, and Blueface did not deny it, the story stopped being about Karlissa's mouth and started being about what has actually been going on inside that household this whole time. Let's zoom out for a second, because context is everything with these people. Karlissa Saffold has been beefing with women in her son's life for years now. Krisian Rock. Jaden Alexis. Now Nevaeh, in her own quiet way. Every single woman who steps into Blueface orbit ends up in a public standoff with Karlissa within months. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. And the pattern tells you that whatever is going on inside that family, it is not just about who is dating who. It is about who gets to control the narrative around Blueface. And Karlissa has been fighting to keep that control for years. But Kentrell just did something none of those other women were able to do. He broke the narrative from the outside. He didn't need to be in a relationship with Blueface. He didn't need to be family. He didn't need to be a co-parent. He just needed one clip of Karlissa saying his name wrong, and he used it to unlock a receipt he'd apparently been holding onto for who knows how long. And that is why this feels different. That is why this hits different. That is why every gossip page online is running with this story instead of the other 12 celebrity dramas happening this week. Now, let me hit y'all with something that even the biggest reaction channels are barely mentioning. Nevaeh, through all of this, has been the quietest person in the entire scandal. She has not defended herself. She has not confirmed. She has not denied. She has just been sitting there, watching her mother-in-law dig a hole, watching her boyfriend say nothing, watching Kentrell say something he definitely was not supposed to say. And Nevaeh's silence, honestly, is louder than everything else combined. Because you know when a woman has nothing to add to a story, it's usually because she doesn't want to be caught in a specific lie. And that speaks volumes. Some of y'all in the comments are going to say, well, so what if Nevaeh had a tattoo of Kentrell once? People get tattoos. People move on. People cover them up. That is life. And you are right. On its own, in a vacuum, a covered-up name tattoo is not a scandal. Half of Hollywood has covered up names on their bodies. But that is not what this is about. This is not about the tattoo. It never was. This is about the fact that Blueface's own household has apparently been sitting on a secret that his own mother knew, that his own son knew, that Nevaeh obviously knew, and yet Karlissa still had the audacity to look into a camera and call somebody else's child dumb. When your own house is holding a secret that big, you keep your commentary about other people to yourself. That's not shade. That's survival. And this is the part where NBA YoungBoy actually taught the whole culture a lesson with, because Kentrell demonstrated something that a lot of people forget in the age of live streams. Silence is a weapon. He did not have to say a single word about Blueface's household for years. He didn't. He minded his business. He raised his kids. He made his music. He moved to Norway. He did the work. But the moment somebody dragged him into a fight he did not start, he opened one drawer, pulled out one receipt, and shifted the entire balance of the argument. That is what patience looks like. That is what leverage looks like. And Karlissa learned it the expensive way. Let me also address the emotional side of this, because this is not just entertainment. Kentrell's apology on the Offset livestream was not a PR move. If you actually listen to his voice, if you actually watch, that is the exact opposite of weakness. And now here is what I predict happens next, because this story is not over, no matter how neatly Kentrell tried to end it. Karlissa is going to try, over the next several days, to keep this narrative alive. Because Karlissa's brand runs on being in the conversation. She will find another angle. She will do another live stream. She will make a longer apology video. She will maybe cry. She will maybe threaten. She will do whatever she has to do to keep the algorithm feeding her audience back to her. That is the business model. That is who she is. Meanwhile, Nevaeh is going to stay silent, because saying anything at this point only confirms the tattoo story, and denying it now would look ridiculous. So Nevaeh has one move, and that move is to disappear from screens for a couple of weeks and let this cool off. Watch and see if that is exactly what happens. Blueface is the wild card. Blueface could sit this out. Blueface could stay quiet, keep his head down, and let his mother take the L for both of them. Or Blueface could do what Blueface historically does, which is wake up one afternoon, log onto a live stream with no plan, and say something that makes everything 10 times worse. Both options are possible. Both options are on the table. And honestly, I don't think even Blueface knows which one he's going to pick. Kentrell, meanwhile, has already given us his ending. He apologized, he thanked Offset, he tapped out, he went back to Norway, he went back to his family. He got what he wanted, which was the last word without the last fight. And that is the smartest way anyone has ever exited a Karlissa Saffold situation, honestly. So let me summarize, because I know some of y'all just scrolled to this point in the video. Karlissa called NBA YoungBoy dumb during a livestream fight with her own son Blueface. Kentrell responded by exposing that Nevaeh's face tattoo used to say his real name before it was covered up with a feather. Karlissa panicked, tried to walk it back, said she meant Nevaeh instead, as if that helps. Nevaeh sat there and let it happen. Blueface stayed quiet and refused to defend the story. Offset called Kentrell and talked him off the ledge. He apologized publicly, chose peace, and ended his participation in the drama. Karlissa is still spinning. Nevaeh is still silent. Blueface is still Blueface. And the internet is still combing through frames of that feather trying to see if they can spot the old letters underneath. That is where we are. That is the current temperature of the Karlissa versus Kentrell incident. And if you are still with me, and if you are, I love you for it, I want to hear from you. Because this is exactly the kind of moment where the comments section becomes more important than the video itself. Tell me. Do you think NBA YoungBoy was justified in bringing up Nevaeh's tattoo, considering Karlissa dragged his name into a fight he was not part of? Or do you think he crossed a line by targeting a woman who never actually insulted him? Do you think Karlissa's "I meant Nevaeh" excuse is the worst attempted walkback of the year, or have you heard worse? Do you believe Blueface's silence means he knows the tattoo story is true? And, most importantly, do you think Kentrell's public apology was genuine growth, or was it a strategic exit while he was still ahead on points? Drop your take. I read every comment. I mean it. Especially on stories like this, where the culture is watching, and every opinion actually shapes how this ends up getting told 6 months from now. And when it happens, I promise you, I will be right here breaking it down piece by piece, receipt by receipt, tattoo by tattoo, until the whole story is on the table. Because that is what we do here. We watch. We listen. We collect. And when the moment is right, we tell you what actually happened, not what the live streams want you to believe happened. Kentrell just gave us one of the wildest 24-hour arcs of the entire year, and honey, the ink has not even dried yet. Take care of yourselves out there. Stay off live streams during arguments. And whatever you do, do not, under any circumstances, drag NBA YoungBoy into a fight that was never his. Kentrell has been telling y'all for years. Some of us are just now starting to listen. I'll see you in the next one.